अस्सलाम वालेकुम नया दिन टीवी के जितने भी देखने वालों को it's just sorry I just started in Urdu but everybody who's watching Naya Din welcome watching Naya Din. We normally do this program. Mindset is here now, and I just really want to hand over my job to Mr. Mohsan. Mohsan, if you really start the program and introduce the brothers.
Thank you, Faheem. Assalamu alaikum for everyone watching. Just want to say thanks again for everyone's support, the kind words, all the positive feedback we've been getting, and yeah, the continue of the show. So over the last two episodes, we looked to have a divide between the elder generation and the younger generation. And Brother Alaya joined us 2 weeks ago, and we had Brother Abdul Salam who came on last week. And I felt we covered a lot of points. There was good, valid points from each side. And we've come with a solution of there's communication problems and there's things that we all need to work on. But I felt we added loads of value. So I wanted to start a fresh topic today. And not to say we're not going to go back into that topic. If something comes, we can always reopen it and visit it. But one of the things I've been wanting to talk about for a while culturally is the caste system and the caste issue. So even myself, I understand that what my caste is, what the heritage is, what the history is, but I don't carry it around with me like a badge of honor, and I don't carry it and I don't fly a flag that I'm so-and-so and I'm this and I'm that. You know, years ago, like when I was in university, I met a group of brothers there, and one of them, two of them ended up being similar caste, and as we were talking and speaking, we realized we had relatives and links and things like that, and it was a nice feeling. So I understand the good side of the caste, even though our knowledge is minimal. But you see, in the modern day, I feel the caste is getting a bit outdated, where I have not issues but reservations about the caste culture and the caste mentality within our communities is when it comes to things like a stumbling block when it's marriages and rishte, people are the same caste as us. When it causes things like divide, when you look into it, it's potentially discrimination as well. And what applied 50, 60, 70 years ago, what our ancestors used to do for a living, our mindset, modern day British born Asian it doesn't apply here. If somebody was a king, a landowner and so on and so forth, but here are occupations are something completely different, my mind struggles to understand why it's such a big thing. Because religion says one thing and caste and culture is something different, which we'll get into detail over. But my main issue is when it starts becoming a stumbling block, when it starts becoming something that's a divide, when our religion tries to keep us unified, I thought that's why I wanted to bring the discussion here and just to get other people's views on it. So Alaya, thank you for joining us again on this show as well. I'll pass it to you and then we'll break into it even further.
Hi there. So, Assalamu alaikum, everybody. My name is Alayar. I'm a people's manager. I work for Provident Financial at the moment in a bank. I have a lot of dealings with people, especially the younger generations that are getting into work at the moment as well, and been working with me. So, certain issues that I've dealt with myself. I think there's a very well said. First of all, Mohsin, there's a few obstacles in the way of our younger generations when it comes to the caste. The first thing is the understanding of what is a caste system, and some people don't even know about it. And the second thing is the confusion between the religious perspective and the cultural perspective of caste systems. So just to give you a little bit of insight or education on this front, the caste system tends to come from the Indian subcontinent before from a very long time ago. It's normally within Hinduism, and it got carried forward. The British had some form of caste system before that they had in their own systems. And when Islam was transferred, or when Islam moved into the Indian subcontinent, basically we adopted 99% of Islam, but this 1% of the culture we didn't let go of, which was the caste system. Now, we are told Islamically as well, there is tribes, for example, and the reasons why I understand the benefits of certain tribes being within and amongst each other. But one thing that we have to think about is the undermining of other people, discriminating against other people, and looking down or up at someone is not allowed in our religion. So, for example, I'll just give you a little example. I know this is not a fully Islamic program, but just a perspective. The Prophet ﷺ chose Hazrat Bilal, to do the azan. This was a black man who was poor and was originally classed as a slave. This shows you an example where the Prophet ﷺ is trying to show us that there is no caste in Islam. There is no caste in Musliman. Musliman is one. There is no higher or lower. When you wear that ihram and when you go to Mecca, when I did my Hajj in 2012, 2013, everybody looked the same to me. Nobody said at that point, I'm a Jat or a Raja or a Chaudhry. Do you understand what I mean? Now, the other point that I wanted to touch on is this is also a factor which is like dividing us as a community and as a people. Another statement is the Prophet ﷺ said Islam is like a body, a human body. Every single part plays its part. Arms, legs, head, body, feet. Now, if one part's not there, you're missing an arm, you're weak. That's the same. So Islam, another example was Muslim. If you come under the category of Islam, you come under the category of Muslim, you are all one people.
100%.
It's not the fact that, yes, he's better than me, or somebody comes up to me and says, for example, I'm a Mirza Mughal. That doesn't mean anything to me right now. 100%. What means most to me is I'm a Muslim. I'm a human.
Just to add in as well, Aliyar, it's similar to what we've discussed in previous ones where you've said that the culture and the religion, there seems to be a mix and sometimes culture seems to overlap. But a lot of the fundamentals, if people look into it, we realize we're actually going wrong. And it's not just the younger generation who will argue about these things. And we mentioned in the last program as well about the youngsters having a chip on the shoulder. And I feel this is something that adds to one of the chips on the shoulder. But it's also come from our elders. The difference is that's the society they were in. It mattered in Pakistan. It was more tribal, maybe there you live within your own communities. But in the modern day, when we go to work, when we're mixed with various cultures and castes and religions and beliefs, that these things don't really apply as much to them. And I'll just pass on to Brother Aurangzeb as well to see what his thoughts are, and then we can start discussing it further.
Assalamu alaikum, my dear respected brothers. Thank you very much for inviting me to this specific program. I'm really grateful to you guys. And also, I really would like to say that I'm actually happy that the program and the topic that you've actually chosen is a very, very good, and it's a very sensitive topic as well, if you look at it at the end of the day. Excuse me. Now, can I just briefly go back onto what Brother and I was just saying about the caste, basically, And I'm just going to touch up a little bit more about it. Now, at the end of the day, the caste, previously our forefathers, when they came over to this country back in the 1960s and in the 1950s, just a small recap quickly. Basically, they said, oh, I'm a Raja, I'm a Jat, I'm a Chaudhry, I'm this and I'm that, Now, the question you need to ask yourself, is this, you say who you are with your caste, but do you actually know what the meaning of that caste is, For example, I'm giving you an example here now, For example, the word Raja, oh, we belong to Raja Khandan, our caste is, we are Rajas from back home. But the word Raja, do you actually know what that means? What did they do? What they didn't do? So we're not following that at the end of the day. We just make it out that we are, oh, I'm a Raja, or I'm a Chaudhry, I'm a Jat, or I'm a Mochi. Again, I agree with you guys, that we should not be going with the caste because we do not know what the actual meaning of the caste is. And like Brother said earlier on, at the end of the day, if we are all Muslims, And what my personal belief, is this: at the end of the day, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala has created mankind from Adam and Eve. At the end of the day, So we are all one humans. It doesn't matter whether you're black, blue, or what color you are. You are all human beings. Now, coming back onto ours about the caste, yeah, we may understand the wording caste, right? Okay, my dad said, "Oh, beta, we are Pathans, we are Rojes, we are Rajas, we are Chaudhrys, yeah, we are whatever." Fine, but then the new generation, the next generation, come on, you tell them, they say, "Dad, what do you mean by Rajas? Who are they?" So they are lost. They don't want to know. They're not interested. And then when we go into our marriages, for example, then we say, "Oh, okay, we want to get our daughter married to the same caste of us." Well, hang on a minute. Why? It's not your life, it's her or his life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Why are you jeopardizing their life?
Yeah. Thank you, Brother.
Can I just come in? I think Aurangzeb, if you just introduce yourself, because we just jump into the cast. If you introduce what you do, Mr. Aurangzeb, I think you forgot about it. It's only for our viewers. Thank you.
I sincerely apologize. My name is Aurangzeb Khan, and I've been working in the art industry with a legal firm for the last 18 years. And now I'm semi-professional, and I sit on various panels and bodies as well.
MashaAllah. Faheem, if I can just take the topic a bit further.
Yeah,
so
okay.
where it becomes an issue is looking at it from my point of view and our generational point of view, right? I look out in the culture and I look out at a modern society, and when it comes to marriages, it's a major stumbling block. When it comes to things like I look at politics, we have a whole brotherly politics system. So sometimes it's not voting for the best man or woman for the position. It ends up being, this person is the same caste, so I'm going to vote for him. And sometimes it even happens in our masjids. We see masjids opening left, right, and center. And I'm sorry to say, we all know that they're run by a certain caste system. So it's coming back to that main point where the people on the committee are this, or the people want to try and keep this tribal mentality going on, but it's causing more and more and more divide. And if we look at a global image, we look at the global picture, why is the Ummah in such a weak position this day and age? And it's because of a lack of unity. And it's always because of, not what the fundamentals say, it's because everyone wants to do it their way, or everyone wants to pull someone in this direction or that direction, because everyone thinks they're better than someone else, so everyone thinks that they're right. I'll give you an example. So one of my dear brothers is a good friend of mine. I've known him since primary school, right? He wanted to get married to someone of his own choice. They were both happy. When it came to speaking to the time of the parents, both sets of parents were not happy due to the caste. So I'm not saying it because he's my brother, but mashallah, he's hardworking, looks after his family and friends, good person from heart, handsome chap as well. Girl side again, everything spot on, brilliant. I'll mention this in some of the previous ones. We have things called preferences. There's a thing called a preference and there's a thing called a requirement. And if your preference is someone within your caste, fair enough. But in this day and age, to find someone with the qualities that these people have and to go and disregard it just over something like caste, which is something we shouldn't actually be following in the first place, you're doing a disjustice to yourself. And now, mashallah, if we fast forward 5, 10, whatever many years it's been, that they did manage to get married, they went through loads of stumbling blocks due to caste, but now they are all, mashallah, very happy. Both sides of family are happy, and I'm pretty sure they don't regret the decision. I spoke to the brother earlier on, and what he said is how they find the solution, because it's important we try to put solutions out there as well. How we found the solution was he says to the family and the parents, just meet and speak to each other and see what you think and take it from there. He's not asking anyone to go run 100 miles or jump off a bridge. And after the families met, they realized, you know what, we have a lot of people in common. We have a lot more in common, but the stereotypes we had prior of this caste, which a lot of people have imprinted in them, that was all thrown out the window of one basic meet. And I think moving forward, it'd be nice for more people to have that mentality and that approach that, you know what, keep an open mind. Surely the person can't be that bad. I'm not going to discount it. Give a person a chance. If you're still stuck in your ways and you have that mentality, there's nothing wrong. And even when it comes to Islamically, we were created in different tribes, in different colors to learn from one another. Not to divide one another, to learn from one another.
On that one, if I may say.
Of course, of course.
Right. At the end of the day, like I said earlier on, that our forefathers, who are some of them who have deceased, and some who are in their 80s and 90s, you know what I mean, and obviously, you know, uneducated, and I would say 50% of them are educated, 50% are uneducated. They've had their lifestyle. That's it now. Yeah, it is not the second generation, the third generation, and the fourth generation. And the fifth generation that's coming along. Now, at the end of the day, for example, again, coming up an example here again now, if, you know, again, if one caste, right, is say like the young man is from Chaudhry family, for example, and he's seen a young girl at the education institution, and he likes him, and they both get on well with each other, okay? And she's from, say, family, or say, you know, low caste family, basically. Then they come down to the parents and they say, "Look, mom and dad, at the end of the day, I like her, she likes me, and we, you know, we're really, really, you know, passionate about each other. Okay, it's our lives at the end of the day, and I know what I'm getting into. Okay, I know. Now I know this person, right, is going to look after me, right, is going to maintain me, everything financially, whatever, all right, okay, and I'm insecure as well. It's not that it's not insecure. Then why is it that these so-called have that, you know, thing about, oh, hang on a minute, but I'm sorry, because we are Chaudhrys, and, you know, he's from that background or she's from that background, why? You know, I mean, that's the question I'm asking. Now, tomorrow, for example, if that marriage, you know, it's up to the parents to turn everything, right, okay, put everything on the table, and say, but okay, fair enough, you're going, okay, but this is what it is. If tomorrow something happens, right, okay, then the son, the girl or the boy cannot blame the mom and dad, because it's like, you made your bed, you lie in it. Yes?
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it.
Aurangzeb, I just want to bring Brother Aliyah in, when I've got a few points I want to just add to yours as well. Aliyah, go ahead, my brother.
So basically, this is rooted a bit further than just what's happening right now. I'm going to start from, I'll give you a little bit more. So it's also some of our elder generation's faults. For example, you go to Pakistan, you visit your home country, or you go somewhere and you see how people treat different people. A behavior is, you learn a behavior. For example, what I do in my household and the way I behave around my children or the youth around me, I'm going to be an example for them. Why I'm saying that is, if I go to Pakistan, I've been in situations where, even I've been in Pakistan or in this country, where I've been in front of people and somebody may have seen someone from a lower caste and they've giggled or laughed or said something, or even to the point of they cannot even be in that person's presence. Astaghfirullah. Behaviors are made over time. These are learnt. So now, I'm, like you said, we're in the third or fourth generations. I'm a manager at work. There was two lads. I seen them arguing. There's a lot of people from different cultures and backgrounds watching this, by the way. Yeah. One guy saying to the other guy, I'm a Chaudhry, Raja, whatever, you're a lower caste, for example. And I can see this fight happening. Very embarrassing for me, by the way, because we are trying to be good examples for Islam and Muslims, which is a worldwide, international, no discriminating religion
100%.
of peace. So when I'm seeing this situation, I addressed the two young lads. I said to the one, I said, what's wrong? Why are you saying? He's saying, oh, we're going to a fight. I'm trying to explain to him about my caste system and I'm a higher caste. I said, hold up 1 minute. I go, where are you working right now? And he goes, I'm working in this office. And I go, where is he working right now? And he goes, he's working in this office. So I go, where's your caste come then?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You cannot judge someone 1400 years, 700 years ago. This guy was a bricklayer. So you've named his whole family the bricklayers. His son in 2020 might be a millionaire building merchant that owns B&Q, but you're gonna give him the name of the bricklayer for 700 years.
Exactly.
There's no fairness in this.
And I just want to get to Brother Aurangzeb's point. So he was saying that with the generations that are coming, it's their choice, it's their decisions, and I totally understand and I totally respect that. But unfortunately, the reality of the situation isn't actually like that. It's very, very different. So even if I was to say and have a bit more of an open mind and say, do you know what, these youngsters can do and marry whoever they want as long as they're Muslim, no problem. But I know some of my elders will say, hold on a second, what about this, this, and this? And there are people of our generation who I've spoke to many a time, and they say, oh, unfortunately, I can't marry so-and-so because they're not the same caste, and I know my family won't accept it. So education or not education, just to add to Brother Elias' point, is it's been bred into them. So even people from our generation, a lot of us are forward-thinking, but a lot of people are also stuck in their ways. And when it comes to something like this, again, we can always try to say, yep, go and do what you want, but it's not the case, and it never is the case. So even people who have got children, and tomorrow, if they was to come and, for example, find someone outside of the culture, find someone completely different. As we being Pakistanis, I've said this in one of my previous ones, Jabanda Musulman, the Pakistani, same ethnicity, I'm happy with that, and that's my preference. If somebody was to recommend someone outside of our culture, I would actually, I'm being honest here, I would actually have to think long and hard about it because there's so many things to take into account. So we can't go to one total other extreme because we're going to lose our culture. And that's one thing that we're already on the path to do, but there's many benefits to our culture which I want to keep. But so we don't want to go completely off the rails. It's maybe make a bit of an adjustment that the caste doesn't really matter. But if we have a certain way of living, a certain food we eat, a certain way we dress, certain activities we do and don't get involved in, that's also something that's very important that we have to instill into our youth. Because tomorrow, if they can marry whoever, Musulmano, nothing against them, but they may live totally different lives. So I can also understand that side of it as well. Culture is also important. The religion comes first, but the caste is something which is a stumbling block, which is actually causing more detriment to people than it is success. So we can't go to the complete extreme and say, marry whoever you want as well. That's just my opinion.
Can I come in before Aurangzeb picked his hand up, right? I just really wants to say something. I think the discussion, you guys, I'm trying to conclude it. So basically, in our society, especially, we're talking about British Asian, we have this problem. That's why you guys are talking about. People are still Muslim, and we are all Muslims, but we still believe on caste, like is existing in our society. And it's obviously the caste system came from our old school, our seniors, right? Okay. So what the message is going to every senior who's watching that. Basically, this is dying trend. You better give that up because what you're really doing, making difficult decisions for your children, even you actually poisoning them to really talking about the cost. You need to give up on that. Otherwise, it's never ever going to get settled. So that's what point actually out of your discussion is coming. Sorry, I'll give it to you, Mohsen, and Mr. Aurangzeb want to say something.
Of course. Also, just to add, even take colour and everything out of it, like brothers I mentioned before, the one thing we all have in common, first of all, is human. We're all human beings. I know people firsthand, more brothers of mine, who have gone for a rishta in a different country, 300-400 miles away, right? And when the parents got speaking, even they found out we have people we know in common. The world is such a small place. If you're willing to just come and sit down and discuss and learn from one another, it's come across me so many times. I moved to a different city for university. I've met people I've never met before in my life, and we've come across people we know in common. So there's always a lot more we have in common and between us than we are to segregate and separate us. And all it takes is sometimes for these people to come together and discuss, and you realize that, do you know what, whatever I thought before and whatever perception I had, it's completely changed. I've also done this with many people who don't know much about Muslims or Pakistanis. They'll only know the people who come and drugs off to them, or they'll only know the misdirection that the media portrays. But when they come and speak to someone and they see a decent representation and they're able to have these discussions and they understand a bit more, their perception also changes as well. So I think it's important for the old school to understand and realize that whatever you think, it may not actually be that bad. All it's taking is just to go and have that conversation and take an individual for who they are. Don't paint a picture, don't stereotype, and don't discriminate people. Because we go through it firsthand, time and time again. if they come over from a different country to this country, I guarantee they would have been discriminated against. I guarantee they would have had racism against them. So for them to use this mentality and apply it to some of their own people is hypocrisy.
Or may I touch upon that one? That at the end of the day, if you ask, right, the elder generation, right, okay, that again, for example, say ask a parent or mom and dad, you say that we are Rajes or we are Chaudhries or we are whatever, okay? Can you just explain to us what does that actually mean? And I can guarantee you, right, a lot of parents won't even know. They don't even know the meaning. They don't even know what it actually means. They're just carrying it forward.
I 100% agree with you. None of us know the history properly. None of our parents will know the history properly. But unfortunately, it's something that is very common and it's still a stumbling block. And if it wasn't something that our generation faced time and time again, we wouldn't be sat here trying to discuss it because it's relatable with our own experiences.
And I want to know what that is, then I need to educate myself first of all, and I need to understand where am I putting that profession. You go down next to your name, LB, whatever, okay, or something like that, yeah. Then what does that stand for? Those issues, what does those letters stand for? Exactly what the letters stand for? Yes. So again, this business about caste, yeah, our parents don't even know what the actual meaning is. And if you question them, right, they don't know. So if they don't know, then why are you carrying it forward then?
But what if that parent was to turn around and say it doesn't matter? If that parent was to turn around and say, which happens a lot, and there's many people in our generation we've come across, they won't know the answer because we know a lot of them are educated, but they'll say it doesn't make a difference. You still need to marry within the caste. And this is a common problem we come across.
Well, you marry, okay, you do that, right, okay, but then what if? The big question is, if, right, okay, it doesn't work out, then what do you do?
They've learned the hard way, my brother. I mentioned this in my other program, that a lot of them are failing because they didn't want to be involved in the first place.
I personally think kind of putting that point of view across, you can do that, but I do with the sequence, right? So Brother Alayas is keep picking his hand up, so let him come in and put his point of view through.
I've listened to all.
Sorry, brother.
I've listened to. Yeah, my apologies. Yes, I said I've listened to all the points that everyone's saying, and there are some really good points being mentioned. Now, yeah, the one thing is correct. Yes, some people don't even know what caste means, but they use the word freely, and they it's like they've got a police badge. So it's like a weapon of some form. The second thing is there's a bigger issue as well because I'm a father. I've got a daughter. I've got a baby daughter that's going to hopefully grow up, inshallah, become a good woman one day.
Inshallah.
And she's going to come to me at some point and she's going to say to me, I want to get married. Yeah. Now, what we're not understanding is behind the scenes, and a lot of people that I work with in the youth, yeah, especially when they're coming to me with some of their personal issues, is that we're pushing the youth away. What I mean by this is, have you ever heard, everyone has heard of that story where the girls ran away from home or the boys ran away from home? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is the reason why we do that is because they've come home and the parents have put big building blocks and obstacles in front of them to get married.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, Islamically speaking, it's been told, if make it as easy as possible for the youth after the age that they hit puberty and above to be married. Make it easy on them. Why? Let them complete their fards because there's going to be more good deeds than sins created from that. Yeah. Now, when that child comes to us and then we say caste, money, doctor, lawyer, solicitor, we don't want to look at the person. Is the person a nice person? Is it a caring person? Does that person have deen? Is that person polite? Is that person respectful? Is that person hold themselves in society well?
The things that matter.
Is that person going to be a good father for your children? Is that person going to be able to hold their own house and their own back? And then, we come across that issue where daughters ran away from home. What happened? My parents didn't let me marry him. Why? Because of his caste. Why? Because we don't like his family. Why? Because we want you to get married to your first cousin. Why? Because you have to get married to your caste. And then we get preshan. We've lost daughters and sons. Guess what? We not only lost them to our culture, we even lost them to our religion. Because they will look back and think, these are the people that brought me up. Yeah. And then when they get away from society, when they run away from family, when they run away from guidance, guess what? We've totally lost them. And then we cry. We cry that we've lost our youth. We cry that we've lost our young people. Because what we need to teach people is, like all you have all mentioned, the caste system is only there as a small guidance, as a guidance of your people, of where you come from.
As a preference as well.
Where you come from. But not a judgment. Not a judgment on other people. The caste system, there is no caste. It should be equal. And yeah, there should be some guidelines. I agree. So there's certain guidelines we have to follow. We have to follow certain guidelines before we do an action. But they're not based on caste. I shouldn't be looking at any of you lot and making judgments on you because of a caste that your family was 700-800 years ago. 100%. That is not the fair way. That's not the way we work.
Can I just come in before Aurangzeb and Mohsin's come in, right? Okay. One thing is for definite, there is a big caste brothers are here. Like some is Chaudhry, some is Jat, some is Raje. A lot of people from Atak, some is people call them from Church. So basically, they are existing, and there is. I just want to clarify that there is nothing wrong with knowing, because everybody belongs to certain area. They loved their area and they feel proud about it. But when being a Muslim, you are discriminating because of the caste. Now, because you're a Jat, you got to marry in Jat, and if you're a Pathan, you got to marry in Pathan. I think this is where the problems start. I mean, everybody is quite proud of whatever the caste has. They have their, and the other things I slightly disagree with Mr. Aurangzeb. Everybody know where they come from means I know 200-300 years ago where we come from. Some people probably don't know, but some people, they're old people, even if Aurangzeb goes to his dad, he will tell him where we originally come from and all that things. And I think everybody know what the caste is. Now, only thing is using the caste against the values. This is the biggest issue. Now you can bring Aurangzeb in there, and I'll wait for it.
Yeah, thank you very much, Faheem. Just come back on to what you just said earlier on right now. Yes, fair enough. There are certain people who know their caste, what their caste is, but majority of the people now, our forefathers have gone, they're deceased, okay, and the third generation, fourth generation, and the generations after, okay, they don't know what these castes are. Again, it comes back onto the education. Like, at the end of the day, what do we do when we're kids, right? What do our parents do? They teach us the kalma, which is La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. Yeah, okay. They say, Putar, word mean Putar mean, either son or daughter. Yeah, Putar, this is the kalma that you should read. You should read Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim before you eat, before you do anything. Yeah. So exactly the same way, the caste should be taught to the children, right? Okay, and that they shouldn't understand. Now, if the parents don't know it, parents aren't educated, they're not going to educate the children, okay? How do you expect that child to know then? That's my question. Yeah? Okay, I'll give you an example. Obviously, I'm 50 plus now, okay? My son, for example, I've got one son now, and I've got girls as well. But if I said to my son, I'm a Pathan, right, okay? And we belong to a certain clan, in Pathan Baradri, he's going to say, Dad, what the hell are you talking about? What is that? What do you mean by that? And then when I decease, I've got a grandson now, do you think that my son's going to tell my grandson or his son, oh, by the way, your granddad was Pathan and he belonged to a certain clan, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, they're not doing that. We need to move on.
If I could add, so what Brother Aurangzeb saying is, naturally as time goes on, because if we don't carry it and promote it and wear it as a badge of honor, naturally it's slowly going out. But unfortunately, in 20, 30 years' time, we don't know what the position of the world's going to be. Currently, though, it is an issue and it is a problem. Even firsthand, I've had family members say, even if you're going to find someone of your own choice, make sure they're so-and-so caste, as in our own. And my mentality, my thinking is, this is just limiting me. If it's hard enough as it is, if there's X amount of people out there, I've got a 2, 3, 4% to look into now. So obviously I discounted it. I didn't argue. I didn't disagree. I didn't say to them, tell me the history first and whatever else have you. I thought that's how they think. That's how they think. No problem. I'm old enough and wise enough to make my own decisions moving forward. On the flip side, though, we always have to keep a balance in this argument. On the flip side, I do understand that it makes things a lot easier. So if I was to find someone and if I was to speak to my elders and my friends, they will know these links and they will know these people. And tomorrow they can do that research a bit themselves and say, do you know what? We know so-and-so, they've got a lovely son, a lovely daughter, whoever they're looking for. And that network tool comes from being within the culture. And again, it is within the caste as well. So we can't discount everything and say completely wipe it out of the system. And if tomorrow, because these people already have relations, it brings them families closer together. It brings the families closer together and it builds an even bigger family. And that's a nice unit and a nice thing to have. So there are positives towards it as well. And if tomorrow, again, there's struggles and there's issues, because these people are familiar with each other, they're more likely to sit down, have a discussion, patch things up, and try to work out something to make it move forward. When you're getting involved with somebody brand new, and if they're outside of the culture even more, their way of thinking and their mentality is going to be completely different. And then that is where complications arise as well. So I'm not saying one's better than the other, but there are positives too. So myself personally, I wouldn't say completely go off the rails and marry anything and everything, because we operate a certain way. So there's certain values we need to still instill, but I wouldn't then disadvantage myself. If it's Pakistani, if it's Muslim, that's my preference. But if they were a different caste, no problem. You might have mutual people. If it's within the caste, no problem either, because there's that network of people, you already know what they're like and what their habits are like. So I don't think we need to go all the way to another extreme as well, where people are just doing whatever they want, because with our youth, they also need guidance. They also need guidance. And like Alaya said as well, that environment you're in, what you're going to provide, they will know all too well themselves then. This is my family, this is our people, this is who we represent. A preference, and it would be beneficial and easier if I stick within this. But if I go a little bit out, it shouldn't be too much of an issue either. And that's where the parent side and the elder generation side should think, child, you know what? Let's come, let's sit down, let's see what they're about. And surprisingly, there'll probably be a lot more you have in common than not in common.
I think Alaya wants to say something, and I'll disagree with a little bit with Aurangzeb. I'll try to answer what he's really actually said, but let Alaya say something.
So my perspective is, I agree with Mohsin to a certain amount, and I also disagree with Mohsin with a certain part, and I'll mention both. I agree that, yeah, even Islamically speaking, they say, you know, when you're marrying, sometimes you need to look for a route, or it's preferred to look at marrying within your same tribe because of maybe obstacles or differences that you may have to go through in life. We even understand that. But the second thing is, when it comes to marriage, the truth and the reality that we need to come to is, there was the rule was given, and it was given straight and direct. And the Prophet ﷺ wanted to spread this religion across the world, and there was a reason behind doing that. And the way it was going to be done was without no discrimination. And how that was going to be done is, you are allowed to marry anyone that is Muslim. Then it was also done to the extent that you are allowed to marry anyone that follows the book or the word of Allah. So anyone that follows in the books. Now what that basically means is, you could marry but remember, in context, a true Christian. We don't know what that looks like at the moment, but you would be able to marry a true Christian that follows the first Bible, for example. And there was a reason for this. The reason for this was the growth of believers. That to take away the discrimination, to take away the pyramid systems, to take away the hierarchy systems, to make sure everyone is equal on one page. We came on this earth the same, and we are going to leave this earth the same.
Mhm.
So to me, yeah, it's easier and preferable to potentially marry a Pakistani Muslim.
Mhm.
So you're right. We don't, the caste, you know what? The caste is just another bug in our system. But the wider issue is we shouldn't discriminate against any Muslim
Mhm.
or any human in that case.
Any human,
Like
any
we were
non-Muslim
told,
also.
like we was taught from 1400 years ago, proven to work and has worked and is the largest growing religion until this day, and the most influential person written on record on earth until this day is our Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.
Yeah.
And that's proven. There's nothing better than that.
I just want to add. So when we decided this is a topic we're going to do, I throw the question out there because I like to get people's take from various backgrounds and cultures and beliefs. And one of the teachers I work with, who's the head of a department, said in her previous role, she used to work with Arabs. There was Arabs from different parts of Arabia, Saudis, Emiratis, and so on and so forth. And when I mentioned about the caste, she told me herself, and I was actually very surprised at this. She told me herself that the ones from the different countries didn't really seem to like each other. We didn't really seem to get along with each other. Then they used to dress a bit differently and whatever else have you. So in an ideal world, what Aliyah's saying and what Aurangzeb's saying, we can paint a pretty picture. But unfortunately, in reality, it doesn't work like that. So tomorrow, you both have got kids. If both of your kids would say, I want to marry someone from a white background, Asian background, an Eastern European background, and whatever else have you, and the question goes out to everyone watching as well, I guarantee everybody will have a problem with it. A small percentage might say, no problem, go and do what you want. But I'm more than happy to sit here and say, I still have my preferences. I'll be lenient and I'm open to it. So I'll happily see someone from any other background, but I know what my preference is. So we don't want to try and paint a pretty picture. And this is exactly my point why the Ummah is weak. If the Arabs don't like each other from different thingies, if the Pakistanis can't get along because of whatever, and it's a caste and it's these little things like that, we can't just have a wholehearted approach and say, yep, let's follow it to a T, because in reality, it doesn't work like that. So we have to be honest within ourselves as well. We have to be honest and say, tomorrow, if I'm in this position, honestly, how am I going to deal with it?
Can I just comment? Then Alaya, you can answer. Go on, Alaya. I want to put a point. Go on, Alaya. Go on.
This is why. This is the reason why this subject is very important. Is this is why we're losing. We're in a losing battle right now as a society, as a community, as British Asian Muslims. Because what we're doing is we're creating more divides between ourselves to such extent that we're pushing everyone away. So what do you think my daughter's going to do when she's 17 years old? She's going to go to the culture and the society that is open and brilliant, is the most appealing to her, which is the modern British way of living, not the British Asian Muslim way of living. She's going to go towards the high streets. She's going to go towards the computers. Because this is the issue. We're pushing our youth away. We need to bring them back and be more open. And Islam was made easier. We just need to teach them the simple basics.
Have that discussion.
Yeah.
Have that discussion. Yeah.
Can I come in before Aurangzeb comes in, right? Okay.
Oh.
I just try to answer the question Aurangzeb saying the children's gonna say what my caste is and everything else, and the only reason answer to that is a failure of our senior people, as in our generation. We never tell anything to our children where we come from, right? Okay. The whole purpose of this dialogue, all the seniors who are watching, they can realize, look, this is where we're missing. We don't understand which way their children are thinking, right? So we need to find some kind of a balancing act. This is the whole purpose of debating, right? Okay, the whole purpose of debating. So like Aurangzeb said, so I think this is where the problem is. And secondly, I'm just bringing the Mohsan point in there. Look, we're all kind of old school here. I mean, you guys are younger than me, three of you, right? Okay, but you are actually kind of grown. You know your stuff, right? You made your path. My only concern is where is our youth? How we can engage them, because all these dry subject, this is a dry subject for them. This is really
The
not attracting them. So how we can really engage them, like Mohsen touched it, they don't even understand religion that well. Early on, we talk about, the kids who go to mosque, right? Okay, a lot of parents thinking they are getting understanding of religion. They don't,
They
right?
don't.
Because our masjids are not really cater for them, because they're basically too busy with the committees fighting,
Yeah.
or somebody's al sunnah,
And
somebody's
it's also a caste-based system there as well.
Fahim
It's
Saab,
also a
Fahim
caste-based
Saab,
system.
Fahim Saab, can I just irritate there? Can I say something here? At the end of the day, like I said earlier on at the beginning of my conversation, that at the end of the day, we have to move on. Now, like I said earlier on as well, it is our elders. They do not know. It's education. Okay? Now, again, I'm just going to go back to what I said earlier on, that when the child is born, what does the mother and father do? They say, Putter, this is a book like Quran, basically, right? And the teaches ABC. In English, it is classed as ABC, yeah? In Urdu, it is classed as Alif, Be, Te, Se, yeah? Now, why do we read that? Because it's education, because we need to read, yeah? Again, education. If our elders, right, if we don't sit down with them now, right, and if we don't educate them, 90% of our elders, right, don't even know themselves. So it is our duty to sit down with them, educate them as well. I mean, we're not saying that we are 100% educated. No, we don't. We don't even, I bet you half of our generation, right, okay, don't even know the meaning of our caste as well at the end of the day. Do you understand? So yes, we need to educate ourselves as well, and B, we need to sit down with our parents and educate them as well, and tell them that, look, mom and dad, whatever you did, whatever you have done right, you brought us up right, okay, fine. But if you're saying that we should, follow your footsteps, right, by marrying or going into this Bradri like Raja, Jat or whatever, then hang on a minute. Why? What is the reason? You know what I mean? What is the difference between Raja or Chaudhry or this? So it's not. If then yeah, I agree. So what I'm trying to say, it's education today.
Aurangzeb, I agree what you're saying.
Right, these children are going to be lost.
Aurangzeb, I agree with what you're saying, but you know what the other stumbling block is? Many people I've spoke to while doing this program, and one who actually wanted me to mention it, is that some of our elders are quite stubborn. So what you're saying isn't wrong, but if they're quite stubborn and they're stuck in their way, just as someone like me, if I want to marry someone outside of the caste, for example, I know my parents will have an issue because, alhamdulillah, we'll have these discussions and they've got an open mind. But there may be 50, 60, 80% of people out there who are able to do this or able to have these conversations. And reason being, because the elders' thinking is one way and the youth's thinking is another way, and they're stuck in their ways. So if I want to also keep myself happy but my parents happy, what do I do then? So if somebody wants to marry outside of the caste, but they know their family won't agree, this is a common thing we come across. And if they try to explain to them, because of the parents or the elders being stuck in the way or being stubborn, and they're going to say, okay, but then what do you know? You're a child. So how do we find a solution to that? What if I say tomorrow, no, this is how it's going to be, that's how it's going to be done, what are you going to do? That's when we end up having the conversations with the people at work who, unfortunately, they're forced to run away and do something completely the opposite. But that stubbornness from some of the elders and that pure belief of caste is everything to them, it isn't for us, that is a common thing. So how do we overcome that if they're too stubborn to speak to them?
Caste is out of date now. The caste is out of date.
It's out. Can I try to answer that? I mean, Allah actually did mention a caste is out of date. I think Aurangzeb want to say something, right? Okay. What I understood as in time goes by is gradually going down. Our elders are realizing it. Like Aurangzeb said, it becomes kind of our job, but it's still existing.
100%.
Still existing. And at the same time, I'm saying that they also have their strength as well, because there's a lot of marriages. They got married with the same, you call it Bradri or whatever, is worked perfectly, all right. but there is some actually went pear-shaped. Don't forget, because I just want to say, with the Muslim and especially being a British Asian, when we get married, it's not a two peoples get married, it's the two families get linked up. This is
100%.
the biggest difference we have than other side of it. Two families get too much involved with each other, and the way our culture is, it might be dying, but we try to look after each other, right? Okay. And why I'm actually mentioning, because two things, because you guys are keep going about the being a Muslim and everything else, right? Okay. Obviously majority of our English viewers are watching, right? Okay. They be probably thinking we're just talking about, to me, being a true Muslim, or true being a nice person, right? Okay. You're supposed to be setting good examples, right? All this discussion we really doing, we are actually discussing our elders had some kind of mentality, and we need to sort it out because we are growing within the culture, right? But saying that at the same time, there's a lot of good things in an English culture or the English way of living, and there's a lot of things is really crossed so many boundaries where we feel these boundaries lead you up to different things. That's kind of another debate. But what I'm really saying, the culture thing is very good. We need to make better reason, and being a Muslim, we don't want to be alienated anybody. We should be attracting people for our activities, our realness, because Muslim, being a Muslim, they said everybody's equal, right? Okay. Obviously, the marriage thing really involved the loads of people I do know. They got married outside, but initially, either I know loads of my friends, they married with the English girls, and they changed their religion. Some they not bother about religion, they married, but they still kept the values, right? And it's just everybody has his preference, like you guys are saying. But
Yeah.
don't forget, being not just only Muslim, but also Asian, we do have some of our inherit, we do have some of our caste. We need to use that in a positive.
Yeah.
Say, for example, if somebody a Chaudhary, all we look after Chaudhary, right? But that doesn't mean Chaudhary has to be discriminated because he's a low caste. Now I'm gonna push him. So I think this kind of a debate. I think
The only way,
8 minutes
the only
left.
way to do
I'll
that,
try to bring you guys into it. Okay.
the only way we're going to do that, right, for example, we need to, first of all, educate ourselves, first of all, so that we need to understand what that specific our caste means to us, and what the other caste means. And then at the same time, we need to relay that message to our parents as well, so that they understand as well then. So fair enough, we need to understand, first of all, we need to educate ourselves. At the same time, we need to educate our parents, and then we need to educate our future, if we have grandchildren or whatever, we need to educate them as well.
Just to add to your point, Aurangzeb, like when we did the divide, why is there such a divide between the elder and the younger generation, the two programs we did? The main factor that came from each generational side was communication. And this is what the question I was asking was, is that if I've had people from our generation come to me and say, my parents are too stubborn, they're too stuck in their ways. We gave some good solutions on how they can try and bridge that gap. But when it comes to this caste thing, the reality of it is a lot of them are still too stubborn and stuck in their ways. We've given solutions. If you can have that discussion, if you can educate each other, it's like me saying, I work in a certain field, or doctors are doctors and lawyers are lawyers. And they're saying we're only going to progress and move forward with lawyers and doctors. That's what the caste is in our eyes, if we're fast forwarding it to a British culture. And it doesn't exist here, and it doesn't work like that, because when you dig into it, you realize, it makes no sense. It's just going to set me back more than it is going to give me some positive solutions or outcomes, right? So the people who are struggling and going through this issue, where they may not believe it, but because of their parents are so strong in this caste system belief, that they'll still abide by it. It happens. The masjids are opening left, right, and center. The committees in each mosque is run by a certain caste. Each one isn't full. Each one's asking for money and donations from people. And what's it doing? It's causing a further division between people. So the question is, how do we find a solution then? So if you are trying to approach me, but if I'm going to be stuck in my way and stubborn and not listen or not want to know, how do we get through to these people? Because we're all open-minded, we can sit and have this debate and we can try and learn from each other. But you know yourself, some of our elders aren't like that. So how do we pass this bridge of stubbornness?
We have to educate them. We have to sit down with them and educate them. That's the only way. There's no other way.
We have to reach the platforms. We have to reach the platforms, and we have to be intelligent in the way we reach them platforms. You need to understand that, like we already mentioned on previous shows, this is a platform that you've created to start a conversation.
Yeah.
Other cultures and other religions and other ways of thinking and groups have ways of reaching people. As you can see, you've got Facebook, you've got Instagram, you've got Snapchat, you've got TV, you've got news, you've got magazines, you've got newspapers, you've got community centers, you've got groups out there, you've got people going and visiting mosques, you've got people going to council meetings, you've got people going into youth centers, you've got people spreading. What happens in other cases, if we were all united under one roof, we would be able to spread that message a lot quicker. Because under that one roof, every single room has a door that's locked. So every community under our roof, especially, everyone's in their own rooms locked up. So guess what? The message is not getting up there. We have to bring ourselves together in some way or form, like you've already stated, and that's by getting into the community, getting more people involved in this situation. And then you know what? Like the brothers already mentioned, we need to educate, and the true education is there can't be 4 ways of educating someone. There's different methods of educating, like physically. Exactly. But what I mean is the message should be one message. What I mean is, I'm not making this into a religious show, but what I'm saying to you is our guidance was given with one message. If that one message was across all platforms, we wouldn't be in this situation.
I think the other thing, Aliyah, just to add to your points is, what we're saying, it sounds easy. But let's be honest, the reality of it is not easy
Very
at
hard.
all. One thing I'll say, though, to add as a solution is if there are more open-minded people and you see people within your family going through it, maybe you can speak to the elder generation. If you know the elders well enough, maybe you can get through to them and you can say, do you know what your little one's going through, I can understand. What you're doing, just put your stubbornness to a side, go and speak to the family. You never know. You might find something good or bad out of it. I think we need more people like that also to help, because we can try and say, educate yourselves and say, oh, Dad, you don't know nothing about caste. These little songs are back in the days. But I can tell you for a fact, it won't work. This is why we need to bridge that gap, and there's a way and means of engaging. Exactly. You can't fight fire with fire. It's not going to work.
We got another problem, Mohsin. I go to you as my brother and I say, look, I want to marry this person, for example, and this is the caste. Most of our people nowadays don't say to me, I'll help you out. You're doing the right thing. Let's make it halal. Let's do this. Let's do that. No. You know what people are doing when you go to the house or you go to a family member? Nah, don't do this. This is wrong. Don't marry that caste.
Exactly.
There's more backbiting and hatred that pumps it up than helping someone out.
100%. 100%. But that's why
we're pushing that person out.
Yeah, that's why I said in the other ones, we need more positive mindset people. We need more people to guide in the right way, in the correct way.
Yes.
And if people are going through these problems, they need to be able to have that friend circle or family circle to say, do you know what? I've offered my friends before. If you're not happy to speak to your dad because you're afraid he's too stubborn, I'll come to your house. I'll speak to him, see what he thinks. We need to support each other.
We need to back each other up. We need to back each other up. Our people are competing against each other. We've lost focus. We are bumping into each other. We're pushing each other aside. We're losing because we're beating each other up.
Yeah.
The truth of the matter is, it's not a competition. The truth of the matter is, we're all in this together. And once 100%. We come together, and once we aim to get to that objective of bringing people together, as a people, we will grow stronger. We will become better. Our mindsets will be better. The way we think, the obstacles will be less, because we're doing everything that's right by what we believe in, but we don't add all this extra masala in there for no reason.
Exactly.
Okay, can I just come in now? Is 59 minutes 32 seconds, right? Okay. We actually going over it. This discussion is very healthy. What I'm really asking out of all that discussion, everybody give a suggestion how we can really do it, and then we conclude the program. So whoever's really put head into it, give a suggestion. Tell me, or give.
I would say, right, it all comes back down to what I said earlier on, is education. I think we need to sit down with our elders. We need to educate ourselves, first of all, before we speak to our elders, because obviously they won't know. So we need to educate ourselves first. Excuse me. Once we've educated ourselves, then we need to sit down with our elders, okay, and educate them as well. That's my bottom line.
Okay.
From me, it's bridging the gap, reaching more platforms, getting people involved in the community. People from my background should be able to go to a person with other background. We should be able to talk to each other and be an example for the community.
100%.
Go on, Mr. Mohsan.
Just to recap, I think, thank you again, brothers, first of all, for coming on as well. Everyone made some really good points, and I'm sure this topic will dip into it again. My main point is, together we're stronger. That we have our cultural values. I wouldn't want to lose them. I know the youth are going too far astray, but there's fundamentals I have within me, which I want to instill when I have children one day, inshallah. So I wouldn't want them to go completely off the rails and forget everything we believe in, because there's loads of positives as well. Like Faye mentioned, having the family circles, the bonding, things like that, bringing the two families together. Sometimes it's easier in caste, but if it's someone out of the caste, keep an open mind. That's what I'll say to people. Keep an open mind, whatever prejudgments, whatever stereotypes you have beforehand. When you actually go and discuss with these people, you actually realize, you know what, we have a lot more in common than we do have apart. I've experienced it myself with people from all walks of life. Once they start speaking to me and I explain to them our culture and our religion, they understand our kind of people more. So I'd say keep an open mind, help each other, support each other, and let's just try to strive to do the best and the easiest for everyone, rather than causing divide and segregation. Let's find solutions to bring each other together.
Right. Thank you, Mohsan, Mr. Aurangzeb Khan, Mr. Alayar. Wonderful discussion. I think we need to, as in everybody put a point of view across, is quite reasonable. We need to do a bit more work. I mean, the Niadan platform, this program we started, like Alayar said, we need to open a bit more debate, and we try to encourage people who actually does believe on caste system and are very strong about it. I hope we find somebody. They might give us some idea, might be something positive in there, which is we likes to hear that, because like brother Alaya said, the youth working, they did have in it somebody saying, "Man, I'm the bigger Chaudhry than he is the lower caste," right? Okay, so obviously he's existing in the children and definitely came from the parents, right? Okay, and I hope anybody who listening who wants to come forward and enlighten us, tell us. We are open for any discussion, and I think this is the time right now. We need to really do a bit more work on there and bring the unity together. And being saying, like Allah saying, being a Muslim, we need to set a good example, not a bad example. So in the end, I am saying to everybody, keep watching Niadin TV, follow us. Anybody who wants to come into program, they are welcome to come in a program. Now we'll see you next Saturday, same time. Program called Mindset. Me, Mohsen, obviously, most of the time in there. Guests come in and out. So keep watching Niadin. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.